Welcome to this short video on stakeholders. The key to meeting expectations in the stakeholders section is to have a good list of relevant stakeholders who are quite specific and a list of impacts for each of those stakeholders that have come from research and not from guesswork or common sense. The way that you can test to see if your stakeholders are relevant is ask yourself, would we go back in the CDS and modify our functions or objectives or constraints in order to improve the positive impacts on the stakeholder or reduce the negative impacts? If the answer to your question is no, then maybe these are not relevant stakeholders. The following example is meant as an example and not as a formula or recipe to copy. So what I like about this particular example, though, is that it has some good things in it and some bad things. So it'll really help you think through your ideas rather than just find some ideas to copy. Here's the client statement. If you've not seen it before, press pause and read it before continuing. Here's the students' stakeholders section. You see it's laid out very well. There's an introduction and then there's a table. I like that format. If you want to know how to write a really good introduction, you can take a look at the introductions video that looks at all of the introductions for the PR sections. Here are the stakeholders themselves. It's a list of 6 stakeholders and the impacts that the design will have on those stakeholders. Some of these are good, some of them are not. The first 5 are strong in the sense that they're quite specific. You can research them and find out what they are concerned with. Once again, their interests come from that research, and you can see each one has a number in square brackets next to it. What's weak about these stakeholders, though, is that they're all similar. They're all showing the same perspective. The team could have used more imagination and done a little more research to see what other kinds of concerns there might be. So the impacts are similar. Even if you are going to change one of the functions, objectives, or constraints in order to take this stakeholder into account, there is some redundancy. Do you really need the Canadian Department of Justice? If harm to birds is the same as Fatal Light Awareness Program, or even similar to UNESCO, then maybe the Canadian Department of Justice isn't a good stakeholder, and you can take those 7 words and use them to better effect elsewhere. Also, those last 2, those are really weak. Nearby residents, that's generic. Who are they? And really, they're covered by the Niagara Escarpment Commission, because that's the body that takes care of all living things in the whole area. More birds on the property sounds pretty weak, pretty much like guesswork to me. And so you can take a look at this and see, well, where have we got weak ideas and where have we got stronger ideas, and how can we build a really strong stakeholder section?